hoping this is in focus. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Da-na-na-da-da-da-da-da-da. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Okay. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany June. If you don't know me, you do now. So today I'm going to be talking about how to teach yourself a language, or at least how to start learning a language without having to pay money for classes. So if you don't know, a lot of people know me and my channel based on my Middlebury Interactive Languages vlogs that I did. That it was a summer language program that I did for Chinese, but I also, I took Spanish. When I was a kid, I learned some Danish, which I don't remember like hardly any. I remember like mitt navn är Brittany, and randomly I remember Martin kommer om 5 minuter, which means Martin comes in 5 minutes. Don't know why I remember that. And I also do some signing. Oh, I know a little bit of Portuguese. Eu tenho uma nova dança para vocês, which means I have a new dance for you. In Portuguese. It's a line from a children's song about Teji o Povo, which is Henry the Octopus. But anyway, I love languages, I always have. Today I'm going to talk to you about how you can teach yourself a language or get started on one without having to pay money for classes right away, because for Chinese, I started learning from my boyfriend. He went to Middlebury summer language camp and he had done Chinese at school. And he came back and he did not want to speak any English. And so he would speak to me in Chinese and it got to be really annoying. And so I was like, I'm just gonna learn Chinese so that I can communicate with you. And so I started to learn it from him and just fell in love with the language. I learned 2 high school levels worth of Chinese in like 4 months. And then I started Chinese 3 at my school the next semester in winter in January. So that's pretty cool. So I just want to tell you some of the tips and tricks that I have done and have thought to be very helpful if you can't afford classes right away, or if you want to just skip the basics, because you can learn the basics of any language. Once you get like farther along, it's harder to learn that stuff by yourself, but you can teach yourself the basics. It's pretty easy to learn the basics of most any language, especially nowadays with all of the resources that we have. So we're just gonna dive right into that. Number 1, find a friend. If you have a friend who already knows, maybe not fluent, but knows a lot of the language, having a friend to teach you one-on-one is great. If you don't have a friend who knows it, it's also really helpful to find a friend who wants to learn it with you, because then as you two learn together, you can talk to each other. So number 1 way to learn any language is to talk, to speak, to use that language in any way that you can. So like Liam already knew a lot of Chinese. I think he was in Chinese level 2 or 3 when he started teaching me. And so that was really helpful, but also just being able to text him every night in Chinese for an hour was so helpful. And just having a friend there that you can communicate with in your target language is gonna be super helpful for you. Number 2, and I kind of already touched on this, is to immerse yourself. Talk in that language as much as you possibly can. There are lots of different ways to do this nowadays. One of the ways I already said was texting. On your phone, they should have like different keyboard options, and so you can change your keyboard and be able to easily text in whatever language. Literally just texting, it helps you with spelling, it helps you with your reading comprehension. Texting is just very good. If it's Chinese writing, you can learn the pinyin, and then you can also like finger write it on your phone, so it helps with that. Snapchat is another really good way to do it. Snapchat back and forth with your friend in the language. You have the option to change the time to be 10 seconds, and that will help improve your reading speed, because you only have 10 seconds to read whatever. If you didn't catch it the first time, replay the Snapchat, and if there's a word you don't know, you can either respond to your friend and be like, what does this mean? Or you can screenshot it and look it up. Yeah, Snapchat is really good for improving your reading comprehension. FaceTime is a fantastic way to talk, to speak in the language. It helps you with, if you're doing Chinese, it helps you with tones. In ASL, for any sign language, visually, like FaceTime is the best, or Zoom, any sort of video conference where you can see facial expression, you can see the hands literally. It's just easier than like on Snapchat where you would have to like film a video and then send up that video. It can just be like live and in person. You can talk, you can speak in the language. It'll help you with your pronunciation, your fluency speed of speaking. So those are just like the 3 main technology things that we have right at our fingertips to help us learn language by yourself or with a friend. Tip number 3, utilize the App Store. There's a free app called HelloTalk, which is it's basically a social media app, but it's for people all across the globe, and it's people helping each other learn languages. You put like Chinese, and then it'll connect with you with a native Chinese speaker who's trying to learn English. And so you and somebody else from across the world can help each other learn whatever language. It's like friends helping friends. That's a really good way to learn a language. If you, like I said, if you don't have a friend, where I was like, get a friend, is a good way to get a friend. Disclaimer, when you're on HelloTalk, don't give out any personal information, like your name, that's fine. Your first name, that's fine. I wouldn't give out last names, or I don't know, if you get to the point where you trust the person, maybe you could give them like your Instagram, but definitely I wouldn't give them like your phone number or your email or like your address, obviously. Just like don't give out any personal information because you don't know the person. And yes, they're helping you learn a language, but you just don't know. So just be safe. Tip number 4, embrace the technology that we have. Google has a million, you literally just search like learn a language by yourself website. Rosetta Stone, not my favorite, but you could do Rosetta Stone. Also, it's kind of pricey. Duolingo is a free way to learn a language. It's kind of tedious and they repeat a lot of stuff, but I mean, it does help. I mean, it helps you learn. My brother's girlfriend is learning German on Duolingo. But like I said, the best way is to talk. Communicating with somebody else in language is going to be the best way for you to learn. When you go to these websites, understand you're not just going to become fluent right off the bat from those websites. They are very helpful. So like Duolingo, there's Babbel, there's Fluencia or something, which is like a Spanish one, I think. But look up different websites that will help you learn that language, and that will at least get you started and going on the basics before you can actually find a person to talk to. Google Translate. Let me just quickly talk about Google Translate. Google Translate is not reliable. They are reliable for like one word or like a small phrase, but in terms of like long sentences, or I wouldn't even trust them with like short sentences a lot of the time. It just, yeah. But there are some good dictionary, like language dictionaries online. My favorite dictionary app for Chinese, if you're learning Chinese specifically, is Pleco. Love Pleco. There's a Spanish dictionary, Spanish Dict, D-I-C-T, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, you can find online dictionaries. Okay, a really, really great way to learn a language is through music. Looking up popular songs in whatever language is so fun because one, your brain, I don't know why, but your brain automatically like just remembers music and songs. If you can learn a song in that language and then figure out what you're saying, it makes it easier to learn. For sign language specifically, I love doing songs in sign language. Just a disclaimer though, this is specifically for ASL. Don't post videos of yourself signing a song just because it's sort of a touchy thing in the deaf community and it's like their language and their interpretation and it's just a whole thing. And you're not fluent in ASL, so it's a really, really, really great learning tool to help you learn vocabulary, to help you learn some grammar. If you find a deaf person who does an interpretation of a song, that's going to be the best way for you to learn signs. But I just wouldn't post videos of yourself signing songs. Yeah, if you're not doing sign language, they usually will have a translation of several songs and you can learn how to do them in that language. One that I learned in Chinese was I Want It That Way. 我要你那样告诉我为什么让我心痛. Yeah, so it's a good way to learn. Jam to music. Tip number 5, watch movies. You can watch movies from whatever country, so you can watch like a French film that's entirely in French. Or you can also find movies that you know and love from, you know, Disney or Netflix or whatever that's in English, and then just change the language. If you have Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus, they have multiple languages for the most part. They will have different languages. So I would watch a movie with the Chinese audio and then have Chinese subtitles. And then when I didn't know a word, pause it, look up that word, you write it down, and then you keep watching. And you keep doing that for every single word. It's very tedious sometimes, but eventually you will have this big long list of new words that you never knew. It's fun to watch a movie that you know and love, like you know the plot line, you know what's gonna happen, because you're not super confused and like, oh, I know what this person is saying here, but I didn't get that from listening to this, so let me look at all the words that they use. Watching movies is a really, really good way to learn new vocab and for your listening comprehension. Those are my tips to learning a language by yourself. And obviously, I don't think you can learn an entire language this way. Eventually, you will have to go out of the country or take a class, but this is a really good way to hopefully allow you to skip the first couple levels. This is just the things that I do. If you have any other things that I missed, any tips of your own, feel free to put them in the comments down below so that people can look at that. If you have any questions for me that you want me to answer about my own personal experience learning languages, I can still speak Chinese pretty well. I can listen and understand Spanish. I took Spanish in high school. So like if you speak Spanish, for the most part, I'll understand what you're saying, but like I probably could not respond. And signing is my minor. So ASL, I feel pretty decent in ASL. Yeah, but if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and happy learning, you guys. Go off into the world with your newfound knowledge and connect with new people, meet new people, and just have a blast. I love you all very, very much. Bye, bye, bye. Bye.